What's up, guys? UntowardBanana here with Streaming for Dummies. Today we're talking mics, giving you a basic understanding of mics. When people say cardioid, what does that mean? When people say raise the gain, what does that mean? Noise gates, all these things. You can go to years and years of school to study. We're going to try and break it down in the easiest possible way so dummies like me can understand. Let's get into it.
And the cracks begin to show.
When it comes to streaming, guys, there's two types of mics that people generally try and buy. It's either going to be an XLR mic or a USB mic. USB mics are mics that just plug straight into your computer and they pretty much plug and play. A lot easier to use. The downside is there's usually a less finished quality to it. The wiring itself is a little less balanced. We're not going to get too far into the concepts. This is Streaming for Dummies, not learning audio for experts. But generally, XLR is superior, but far more expensive, and you can do a ton with a cheaper USB mic. Alright guys, so when it comes to mic, there are two different types of mics that we look at for streaming. You have what's called the dynamic mic, and you have what's called a condenser mic. A condenser mic, similar to the HyperX Quadcast, which I have here, is created to pick up more of the room. That's why these mics generally have stands that you can sit on your desk, so you could talk a little further away from it. And a dynamic mic, like this Shure SM7B, its concept is to pick up the volume that's closest to it. So the further away from the mic I am, the worse it sounds. The closer I am, the boomier and better it sounds. The concept behind this mic, the Shure SM7B or any other dynamic mic, is to pick up less around the room noise and more of the voice. So this is really good for vocals or streamers who want to get that a little bit more boom out of their voice. I have a naturally higher voice, so I want more bass in it where I can get it. Dynamic mic, like this one, will do a good job. Condenser mic will still do a good job if it's what I want, but it's just used for different things. So if I want to pick up more of the room, maybe I have more people in the room that I want to stream with and I want everybody to be heard, a condenser like this would do a great job. That being said, with all mics, the closer the mic is to your mouth, the better. Understand that for your stream, it doesn't have to be, but the closer the mic is to your mouth, the better. The further away it is, more work it has to do, and the less finished or quality sound will come out of it. Even if it's a condenser mic that wants to pick up more of the room, the closer the better. Just like I was pointing out earlier, if I'm over here, I have to talk louder. The further away I get, the worse it sounds. And over here, I can just talk like this and it sounds perfect. The next thing we want to understand when it comes to mic is the cardioid pattern of our specific mic. Every mic has its own cardioid pattern. Creators generally put up some sort of map or something so you can understand what the cardioid is of the mic. The cardioid pattern, very simply, is the area that the mic is picking up. The area of sound the mic is picking up. So if you look, well, I was using my HyperX Quadcast for some time. They did a very good job. They actually had multiple cardioid patterns that you could change on the fly, which is really cool. If I bring it on over to you guys, you can see right there on the back, there's multiple different options. There's an infinity symbol, there's a little circle, there's looks almost like a heart, a number 8. Depending on where my dial was pushed to, depends on what area of the room the mic was picking up. A mic like the Shure SM7B doesn't have multiple cardioid options. It's not its point. Its point is, here's a mic, talk into it at this level. But if I were to go to their website, it would send with the mic a map of the cardioid patterns. You know, oh, if I'm over here, it can still hear me. If I'm over here, it can still hear me. Over here, not so much. So we understand the basic concept of mics, dynamic mics, condenser mics, XLR, USB, cardioid. Now let's talk about filters. So guys, I'm going to pull up Streamlabs OBS. I'm going to show you the filters that you can be using for your mic on Streamlabs OBS. And that's what I was using for a long time. For example, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up Streamlabs OBS right in front of me right here. All right, we can kind of make that full screen so you can see it better. What you see right here, guys, is you can see the microphone moving up and down into the yellow right there. That's how you know that your audio, as far as peak volume, is good. When it gets too high into the red, it's going to start doing what's called peaking, and you don't want your voice to peak because that's when the microphone can't really handle it. It starts to get scratchy or noised out. It doesn't sound so good. The thing what I've noticed with Streamlabs OBS is you can actually get into the red a little bit with your voice. If it's at yellow peaking into red a little bit, it'll still sound fine. You just have to be a little bit more careful with that. So when you're gonna do as far as your volume, is you're gonna be playing with what's called our gain. Now in Streamlabs OBS, it has its own gain filter right here. So if I bring it down, now you see that my voice talking at the same level is just hitting the yellow. Bring it back up. Now the same volume is at the red. Generally, the idea is they say your music should be at the tip. If you have music in your background or game, It should be in green, maybe just starting to hit the yellow. Your voice should be in the yellow, maybe just starting to hit the red, and nothing should be in the red. The idea is generally keep this in max volume. You don't really want to use this to adjust your noise, because if you have one thing that sounds too loud, like your microphone, but another thing that sounds too quiet, like your music, you want to be able to adjust those separately in filters, because you'll be screwing the sound. If you're messing with max volume, you could be screwing sound on one thing while you're freaking sound on another thing. So let's go into filters. All right, guys, in Slobs OBS, there are a bunch of filters you can add to your mic. I'm going to go through the recommended ones. I'm going to show you some basic setups of how to do it. The thing with filters is every filter changes depending on the user. It depends on your specific mic, your specific voice, what you want it to sound like. I will give you guys a basic setup, and then you could just run with it. On top of that, there are many other devices that do mixing for you, especially once you move into the XLR range. This is the GOXLR Mini, for instance. I do a lot of my mixing right here. It does a better job for mixing than the Streamlabs OBS. Up until I got the GOXLR Mini and the Shure SM7B, I was using my HereBeCush Quadcast, and I was using Streamlabs for that. Okay, so now we're in filters. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna apply the 3 necessary filters for Streamlabs OBS. If you wanna get more into it, this is not the video, this is Streaming for Dummies. We're gonna show you the basic things that you're gonna need, right? First off, we're gonna add gain. We're gonna add ourselves a noise gate, and we're going to add a compressor. All right, let's talk about each of these things. Gain is very simple. Gain is the volume. You need to add extra volume. If your mic is not picking up enough voice, you just go ahead and you raise that up until you see, like we showed you with the bars, that you're in the yellow, maybe if you're getting louder, peaking on red, right? Okay, next we're gonna go ahead and work out noise gate. So the point of a noise gate, guys, is it tells the mic to turn off and on until it hears a certain volume. So it'll be off until I'm talking, right? It'll be off until it can hear the volume over here, but if it hears any volume over here, maybe volume down below me of me typing the keyboard and you don't want it to hear that, you're gonna lower or raise the threshold based on that. Banana, how do I know what threshold we're using? Well, that's gonna be specific to your mic and your situation. Generally, what people do is they'll take their keyboard, if they don't want the keyboard, and they'll start smashing on the keyboard, and they're gonna lower or raise until they see in that bar I showed you, the microphone bar, that it stops picking up sound, you know, or they'll see it's low in the green, so it's very hard to hear. And then, okay, that's good. Generally, the idea is with a closed threshold or open threshold, you always want your open threshold about negative 2, positive 2, I'm not a mathematician, 2 lowerness. So if it's at 28, I want it at 26. If it's at 22, I want it at 20. Okay, that's the general idea for a closed threshold or open threshold. The attack time, guys, is how quickly it picks up noise, right? And the release time is how quickly it closes. So if I want it to pick up noise really, really quickly, you know, I'll do it even earlier. If I want it to shut off immediately after I finish talking, I'll do it really quietly. I don't recommend I actually recommend the release time being longer. Ideally, you know, I recommend not touching this. Ideally, you just leave it the attack time and release time as it is. They do a pretty good job with it. If you really want to mess with it, keep the release time longer, because you don't want the mic to just cut off the second you stop talking. Especially if maybe I get a little bit lower and then all of a sudden it just, before I'm finished talking, and then you can see some streamers are messing with their noise gate, and when they're talking, it's like da 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 da. You know that they've put a really, really quick release time on their noise gate. Lastly, we're going to talk about is the compressor. The thing with the compressor is the entire point of a compressor is it brings your voice down and raises your voice up depending on your choices. So if you're the type of streamer like myself, like it's very, 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 very loud, but I don't want the volume to blow out, right? I can't control how loud I get because I like to scream and get excited. I don't want the microphone to peak. Well, what you do with the compressor is you mess with the ratio and the threshold in order to find a compression that works for you. It'll compress your voice down. You're gonna need to mess with this stuff, guys, in order to figure out, you know, where you want to be. Unfortunately, there's no perfect answer. The idea is you just mess with audio a lot until it sounds the way you want it to sound. You know, I'm still messing with my audio, and if I'm being honest, I think audio is probably the most difficult part of streaming and the most important part of streaming as well. If I'm the type of guy that gets loud, I want it to be further into the negative 24, negative 25. Honestly, I actually like around negative 19. And that way, when I get super loud, it will compress my voice down so that on the other side of the stream, their ears aren't being blown out. They can tell I'm being louder, but their ears aren't being blown out. At the same time, you have what's the output gain, which is the reverse of the threshold. Essentially, it will add more voice back in. So if I get too quiet, you know, it will push my voice back up. The way you can figure this out is what you do is you just start talking at a louder volume, and you move your threshold and then you listen back to it. When you could hear yourself getting audibly quieter, although you're talking at the same volume, then you know you're at a threshold. Maybe pop it up too, you know? And with the output gain, it's almost the exact same thing. You talk quietly, and when you can hear yourself getting a little bit louder, bring it down maybe too. So those are the basic filters for audio. We talked about mics, dynamic mics, XLR mics, USB mic, condenser mics, cardioid, filters. I recommend when you're going out and buying a mic, you go with a USB mic and not an XLR mic when you're first starting out. USB mics are cheaper, and there's some excellent USB mics that can do a great job. I'll post a couple down below. Offhand, I can think of the HyperX, the Blue Yetis, even the Snowballs. Razer has a great one. Elgato just put one out. The Elgato Wave, I believe it's called, is amazing. So there are some fantastic USB mics that will run you in the between $100 and $200 instead of going out and getting an XLR mic yet. And that right there is the basics of mics, guys. If we could wrap it all up really quickly, the main ideas is stay close to your mic, make sure you understand its cardioid, use your filters wisely. I'll see you guys on the next Streaming for Dummies. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, please leave them down in the comments below. If you want to just talk, hang out, I stream every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. East Coast time at twitch.tv/UntowardBanana. I'm here, I'm on TikTok, I'm everywhere. Please leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. It lets me know I'm doing the right thing. And I will see you guys in the next one.